Before we start, don't forget to download this image. It's completely free and you can join us on all the coloring days for the 12 days of Christmas. Hi, it's Dia. Today we're going to be drawing the little maid milking and her very friendly cow, and of course that little bucket. I'm going to be using the 50 set of Crayola colored pencils and the set of praying colored pencils that I have also. I store them together in a very colorful green flower pot, and usually when I use them, lately I use them together because I find them very similar in texture. So the first color that I used was the praying set that I have has no colors and no numbers. So it's an apricot type of skin tone. And I just quickly, didn't do anything fancy, colored in her face, arms, legs. And then I took almost like a melon color. Let me see, what's that color? Once again, I don't know because it's not marked. But I just went under the areas, like under her hair, under her chin, and on her legs, on the one side that I thought would be slightly shadowed. Went over the top of her nose. Just gave her a little sun-kissed look. Let's see. Oh, no. Actually, the darker skin tone is Coral Reef, and it was a Crayola. That lovely pink is pink in Crayola. Now, yesterday, when I was talking about the little lady dancing, I told you that I was Russian, and my mom's Russian, and on my dad's side, I'm Lithuanian. So I thought it would be fun to just talk about some of the traditions in Lithuania during Christmas. Interestingly enough, the 12 days of Christmas in Lithuania start on December 24th, which is Christmas Eve, of course, and last until January 6th, which is the Epiphany. Oop, I'm going to interrupt myself. I took a light brown color here because I thought it would be fun to give her a gingham dress. And when you use less expensive pencils, if you use a lighter color and then go over the top of it with a darker color, it does a funny thing. The darker color won't color over the lighter color. So it gives an interesting effect. So I use the lighter color first. It's not that different, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's a lighter brown. And then in the crisscross area, I used a darker brown. So the lighter brown was a praying brown. No idea what it is. And then the darker, let's see, do I have that one here? Hold on. So this darker brown, choose a similar color, slightly darker, not too reddish. Some browns can be very reddish or mahogany. It's got like a yellow base. So you can see when you go over the top, that color's cocoa. When you go over the top, you can see some of that lighter brown shine through. So I thought that was an interesting effect. It's a Lithuanian Christmas song. Now, Advent is the preparation for the Nativity to take place. Now, in Lithuania, Christmas Eve is more well-known than Christmas. The whole family gets cleaned up, they change their linens, and everybody puts on nice clothes for this lovely celebration. I used that same lighter brown for her hair, and then I used the darker shade first because it's harder to go over once the colors are down, and the lighter colors are even harder. So put your darker colors down first. So the dining room table is covered in straw, and then that is covered with a white sheet. The straw represents baby Jesus in the manger, and then the table is decorated in such a pretty way with twigs and small branches and beautiful candles. And it's said that if you pull a straw from underneath the white sheet, and it's a long straw, you'll live a long and happy life. And if you pull a piece of straw and it's thick, and long, you'll have a rich and happy life too. I added some orange around her hair because blonde hair, when it's in the shadow, isn't necessarily dark gray. It turns sort of a nice orangey, burnished color. So that's what I did here. At the table, an extra place setting is left for those who couldn't be there, whether they're far away and they couldn't come to join their loved ones or they have passed. It's believed that if the table is set with this extra place setting, the spirits will visit and the holiday will even be nicer. And of course, those who are alone are always invited to join the festivities. I made her headband like a periwinkle, and the flowers on her little apron, I just left them really simple. I didn't want it to overtake. I thought her outfit would be simple, and anything else and anything too much would take away from that brown gingham. I just made some little indications of shadow here. On the center of the Lithuanian table, there are Christmas wafers. There'll be one for everyone who is attending. And on those wafers are stamped a picture of the birth of Jesus, and they're given to everybody at the table. The meal starts when the first stars shine in the sky. And if it's cloudy or if it's snowing, like it is a lot of the time in Lithuania, it's very cold during Christmas season in Lithuania. The head of the house decides when it's time to eat. Then the old man of Christmas may visit and give presents to the young ones. And then, of course, people also exchange their presents. Decorations for the tree and decorations around the house are often made from white paper straws, and stars and snowflakes are popular to make. For our little cow, I took a pink color. It's a CRAYOLA coral reef again. No, I'm sorry. Nope. It was pink. And I just went around his mouth a little bit and a little bit around his nostrils. At first I thought, should I make him a baby cow because he's so cute? He's got such a sweet face. And then I thought, nope, probably not, because she couldn't be a maid, a milking then. I put that same pink in his ears and then went in with that same light brown that I used for her dress. And I just added a little bit of detail. I used that brown to make the shadows on his ears and even around some of the areas on those black spots. I made it a little bit less stark looking. I took the pink and I was going to give him a completely pink belly, and it looked a little something. So I ended up mixing that idea, and I went over it eventually with a little bit of brown and a little bit of gray because I thought it would look a little bit nicer. So I extended those black areas a little bit just to with that cocoa brown to make it look like it was blended in with the white a little bit, because there's never a pure line of demarcation. It doesn't just stop. There's hairs that overlap, and I thought the brown would be a little bit nicer than the gray. There's just a little bit of details on his tail. And I gave him, I don't know if you've ever seen a cow in person or in pictures. Some of them have this adorable tuft of hair on top. So I did a little bit in cocoa brown, and I did a little bit also in black because I had made the one side of his face black and one side white. I also thought I would make the ears fuzzy. And I thought first to do the trick that I did in the last video, which I'll link below, to cover the black with opaque paint, in that case gouache. But I thought the little fuzzy indications with a really sharp black Crayola pencil would be fine. And it really worked nice. I didn't put too many hairs and I thought it came out cute. So back to that pink area, I covered it up a little bit. You can still see the pink. It's not perfect, but I really liked the way it looked with some brown mixed in. It sort of gave the cow a warmer feeling. And then I took some neutral gray and went over certain areas at the bottom of his legs, his under area, his undercarriage, his little belly. I thought those would be more in a shadow, so I just made them a little bit darker. What color is that gray? That is a prang gray, so it's a mystery. As you can see, it's very light. So obviously those Crayolas and the prang, they obviously have a lot of filler in them, but I actually like using them a lot. You just have to use them very differently. And after using for several days in a row, colored pencils that have so much pigment in them, you have to adjust. You almost have to think in an opposite way, kind of like watercolor paints versus acrylic paint. You have to leave blank spaces in watercolor. And I mean, you can do that in acrylic, but you really don't have an option with regular watercolor. Yes, you can go over it with white gouache when you're done. I took some of those areas on the black part of the cow, and I put a little bit of the gray on it just to make it almost look like he's shiny. Oh, now the bucket. I wanted the bucket to look like one of those mottled silver buckets that's been kicked around the block a few times, because, you know, it's not going to be perfectly shiny like the day you first got it. And everybody's seen this kind of bucket. Now, I drew it very simply. The basic outline and a little bit of a line on the interior for the milk. So I used a dark gray and a light gray and also black. I made a few lines to indicate the lip of the edge. And I went over it with black, and I went around the perimeter too, just to make it look a little bit more detailed. And I kind of gave it that same kind of detail around the bottom. Those dark colors were an attempt at making it look like a silver bucket, but without making it look too shiny. That's why I kept going over. I left some white areas, left some dark areas. Nothing too specific. You don't really have to be neat. I made it dark in the corners, or what's perceived as the corners of the top, so it looks like it's cylindrical and there's a lighter silver or gray in the center. Oh, one more thing about Lithuanian Christmas. I remember going to, well, we called her Rocking Horse Grandma's house because she had a rocking horse in her attic from Buster Brown shoes that my father won when he was a kid, and we got to use it. They would bring it down every time we visited, and everyone would be sitting around the table, and my uncles were there, and my aunts were there, and their kids. So it was a big bunch of people. My father has 4 brothers and sisters, and I remember we wouldn't be drinking with beer or anything, but we would raise our glasses and say, I remember it as ansveikatos, which basically means cheers or to your health. And I looked it up to make sure my memory was okay, and it's actually pronounced itsveikata. So, to your health. So, I'm using my very favorite white pencil. It's a Luminance white, and I've discovered that you really can go over these prangs and Crayolas and less expensive colored pencils, and it looks like it's better quality work after you go over and blend it with this Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil. So for the investment of about, they're anywhere from $4 to $6 depending on where you buy them. I'll link everything that I used today below. And then I tried to blend a little bit with that Prismacolor blender. I don't really think it did that much after the Caran d'Ache white. But I really liked the way this came out. It was cute, it was simple, and I have to say I don't think it would have looked any better necessarily if I used more expensive pencils. It's a little harder to figure out maybe because you're kind of working backwards. And there she is, there's her gingham, there's her little brown shoes, her blonde hair, there's Cutie Cow. And I went back in, I blended a little tiny bit more with my Caran d'Ache. So thank you for joining me on the Maid a Milking Day. I hope you're enjoying this series. Let me know what you think. And that's about it for now. So tomorrow, I think we're done with people now. I think tomorrow is swans a-swimming. And we go into the animal zone. So there's our Maid a Milking, there's our Lady Dancing. Next comes our loose runaway drum with the Lord a Leaping and the Piper piping. So thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again soon. I hope you're all staying healthy. And if you need anything, the information is below in the info box, including all the other videos, day 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I will see you tomorrow with the swan. Thank you. Stay healthy. Oh, and be careful on the East Coast. We're getting a pretty wicked storm. See you soon. Bye. And for everybody who was going nuts that I didn't finish the left side of her dress, here it is done.